Hello, my name is Sam. I don't remember when the Red Forest began, only that it never seemed to end. The road stretched forever like a black vein cut through flesh, swallowed on both sides by trees the color of dried blood, their branches twisted inward, clawing at one another, nodding into shapes that hurt to look at far too long. The sky above was dim and sickly, as though had shallow. Daylight had been filtered through bruised glass. I drove with both hands locked on the wheel, breath shallow, afraid that if I slowed down, the forest might notice me. At first, I thought it was just fatigue. Then I noticed it, a shape hanging from the branches, too thin, too many joints, limbs bent at angles that mocked anatomy. It swayed gently like a marionette waiting for strings to be pulled. When I glanced away, it was gone. And when I looked back, it was closer. The whispers came immediately after, not through the open window, not from the trees, but from inside my skull. Come closer, come closer, come closer. I clenched my teeth and pressed the gas. The forest reacted. The red bled into blue. The blue rotted into violet, and the violet burned into a smoldering orange that hurt my eyes. The trees seemed to peel, the bark slouching away to reveal something raw beneath. Veins of light pulsing under the skin of reality itself. I had the awful sensation that I was no longer driving through the red forest, but into it. That was when I saw the sign. Fall Valley. The words were scratched into a rotting wood, uneven and deep, as if carved by a claw that didn't know how to stop. I parked without remembering why. The engine died, and with it, all sound. No wind, no birds, no insects. Silence so complete it felt manufactured. The town stood frozen, buildings slumped like corpses that hadn't yet learned they were dead. Each step I took echoed far too loudly as though my footsteps didn't belong to me anymore. I felt watched, dozens of obscene gazes sliding over my skin, counting my breaths. At the center of the square was a hole, not a crater, not a pit, a wound. The ground split open, edges jagged and raw, descending into the darkness that swallowed light. Hole. I stood at its edge, staring when the whispers returned. This time, from behind me. Hot breath brushed my ear. I spun around. Nothing. I was alone, or so I believed. I wandered into a building that still bore faded Halloween decorations. Plastic pumpkins sagged under decades of dust. Masks stared from empty shelves, their smiles warped and accusatory. Somewhere in the back, children laughed. The sound was wrong, too slow, too stretched, like joy being played at the wrong speed. I followed it to a janitor's closet. When I opened the door, there was nothing inside, just still air and peeling paint. The laughter continued behind me, inside my head. You're not alone. Static crawled along the edges of my vision. The world flickered, frames skipping like it was damaged tape. Buildings bent inward, the sky stretched thin. My body felt unfamiliar, mismeasured, as if reality had forgotten how large I was supposed to be. I collapsed, and when I woke, white light burned my eyes. A hospital room. A woman in a doctor's coat leaned over me, her face stretching and compressing, glitching like corrupted footage. She spoke calmly, rehearsed. Alice in Wonderland syndrome, as she said. Your perception is distorted. My arms swelled grotesquely, then shrank. The walls folded inward, tables elongated toward the ceiling. Worse than the distortions were the people, fading into silhouettes, slipping into the edges of my sight. Even when I couldn't see them, I knew they were still there, watching, whispering. I left the hospital and returned to Fall Valley and returned to the hole. This time, I didn't hesitate. Something looked back at me from the dark. And then, I fell. I don't know how long the fall lasted. Time didn't behave normally there. When I landed, I stood in a hallway, long, narrow, lit by a sickly orange glow. The air smelled of rot and abandonment. At the end, was a single door. I opened it. The room beyond was empty, Impossibly so. I was alone, and yet something was inside me. My body began to change, arms stretched, fingers splitting and twisting like branches. Bones rearranged themselves beneath my skin, bones that were not mine. My legs lengthened until I towered over the room. My face dissolved. No mouth, no eyes, only hollow sockets leaking black mist. I was no longer human. I was an orange, towering humanoid hair, and my limbs bending in ways that mocked physics. When I touched the walls, they rippled like water. Reality bent at my fingers. I understood instinctively what I could do. Fold people inside out, rewrite them, erase them, repeat them. But none of it was mine. The voice returned, no longer whispering. Clear, cold, absolute. My name is Mazier, it said, and now you're not alone. It had fused itself into my disorder, braided its will into my fractured perception. I was a puppet, and my body was the stage. Orange light flooded everything, and there was no escape. Then everything went black. I died. But Mazier did not. Even after my death, my body continued to move.